Hi friends, today we're going to teach you how to change the tires on an e-bike. Not just any e-bike, but one with a mid-drive and a carbon belt drive. We have the Tough Hill e-bikes, but this will apply to most mid-drive carbon belt types. And it might even help you if you just have a regular chain. To learn more about these Tough Hill e-bikes, you can click on the link in the description or watch the video that I'll post at the end of this one. Quick shout out to my friends at BikeTalk. Thank you for the t-shirt and for having me on your podcast. I'll post a link to that in the description as well. It's winter here in Winnipeg, so it's time to change to studded tires. Okay, it's not officially winter, but it feels like winter. There's a lot of snow outside, so the calendar actually means nothing. Let's get to it. So just a quick review of the tools that we're going to need for this process. We're going to need a tire removal tool. This is something cheap I got at my local bike shop. And a 16 millimeter wrench. The first thing I do is I flip the bike upside down and I put the front of it on this yoga pillow right here so that my controls aren't getting all scuffed up on the floor. And this gives me a little bit of height to work with. We're going to start with the back tire because it's a little bit more complex. And the first thing you're going to do is bring the stem somewhere you can easily maneuver and take some air out of the tires. I'm going to use this little wooden stick here to help me with getting some air out. Once you have enough air out of the tires, first thing you're going to do is make sure it's all loose. Then you're going to use this tool right here to get the tire out. Be careful, you don't hurt yourself. I have done that a few times. So you're going to use your lever to just pull the tire out. And just be careful you don't puncture your tube. This takes a little bit of muscle, just slowly going through the whole thing, pulling it out. All right, now that the tire is completely removed here, as you can see, it's all out. We're going to disconnect everything in a certain order. And when I disconnected everything, I left everything that belonged on the left side, and everything that belonged on the right side. That's just a little tip to help you when you're putting things back together to sort of know where you are. Another thing I did is I took a close-up picture of everything so that I knew where things belonged, because it was my first time doing it. If you're watching this video and your bike is identical to this one, you might not have to do it because we're going to do it together. But it's a good tip to do, to know. So the first thing we're going to do is loosen these bolts here so that we can get in there. So you're going to loosen one side. And then you're going to see that there is this little bracket in here. This bracket is really important because it's keeping the wheel in a certain position. You will see here that it has a shape there. It's not all round. So make sure you leave the left one on the left side, and we're going to do this on both sides right now. The next thing that's really important is that there's these little connecting cables that go around here. We're going to disconnect them and leave them easy to reconnect afterwards. You're going to pull this little lever here to loosen it. And then you're just going to slowly pull it out of the spot here. So it took a little bit of work, but we wiggled the cable, this bolt out of here, pulling it down. And it wiggled it loose. So we loosened that cable. Then you loosen the next one. And it's the same idea. You're just going to wiggle it down. See it right there. Okay? And the next step is to just loosen these cables so that they are not in your way anymore. Then you're going to remove the belt and your wheel is loose. that's it. Easy peasy. Okay, so now that the wheel is off the bike, I'm just gonna remove it. And I can take more air out if I want, because the less air that's on, the less air that's in the tube, the easier it is to remove the tire. There we go. Free and loose. And I'm gonna get my studded tires ready to go. I'm using the Ice Biker Pro. This is the tire that was recommended for my bike. I suggest that you check with the manufacturer what is recommended for your bike. We were able to get these on sale. It was still summer. It was still beautiful outside, and we had this idea that we'd never need snow tires, but we did. So we got them. So the point here is that you can do this yourself. If I can do it, you can do it. You don't need to take it to your mechanic, but you can. If you're Winnipeg, Northern Bicycle will touch any e-bike. I don't know in your hometown who does that, but here's the point. You can do it. You got this. As long as you reverse all your actions when you're putting it back together, you'll be okay. This part here is a bit of a struggle. So we may do some cutting or some fast forwarding. I need to fit this around this, stick the tube in there, and then we're done, ready to go. So let's try to do that. Ta-da! It only took me 2 seconds. Okay, so now we've managed to put the tube back in there, and we've put the tire, all the edges inside the wheel. Now we're going to put it back on the bike. All right, so now we're just going to put the wheel back in. You just have to make sure the cables are one on top and one on the bottom, and that your disc brake is fitting inside the spot for it right there on the right side. You will see it when you do it. And then the other thing is, because of the way that this works here, there's only one way to put it in. So make sure that the wheel, the screw, is in the right place. You will see it. Turn it until it fits in there. And there it goes. It's in now, right? And the first thing we're gonna do is reconnect these little cables. Okay, so this screw here, we're gonna put on this first spot here. Stick it in, push it in. It clicks into place. Then we're going to reseat the cables on this little bracket here. They're reseated now. And the same goes for this guy here. Reseat first. In here. There we go. And then we're going to bring it around and hook it onto. This is really the most complicated part of the whole process. It's hooking this back on here because it's, you know, it's tight, as it should be. Okay, so it was a little bit tight coming around. So what we did is we moved the gears. We shifted the gears until it loosened up a little. The brand of this gearing system, this internal gear hub, is Enviolo, and that's how you would do it. I'm guessing other internal gears are the same with the carbon belt. In any case, we were able to loosen it up a little bit, put it in place, and click it in place again. Now we're good to go. This is really the most stressful part. And then you notice that you made a mistake and didn't hook the belt on, so you have to do the whole thing again. All right, so now we're gonna bring the belt around before we connect the cables. So it's okay, you only make these mistakes once or twice. Be seated in the right place there. So this was actually the most difficult part, is making sure that these two screws were seated properly. So we had to jiggle with the gears, move the gears around a little bit in the front, so that allowed one side to tighten, the other to loosen. This is really the most complicated thing you will have to do. So just keep that in mind, is don't get frustrated here. Go and move the gears around so that you sort of have a little bit of leeway on either side when you're putting these back together. And the same applies for when you're taking it apart. The next step will be, so you have the belt drive, you have the gears connected. Now you have to put these little brackets back, okay? They will fit properly if your tire is seated properly. If not, you may have to move it around. But in my case, they're exactly where they're supposed to be. I'm going to do both sides. And then I'm going to tighten it, but I'm not going to tighten it all the way because I want to put some air in the tires first. Make sure nothing is rubbing and everything is proper before we're completely done. I'm really glad I did my nails and my hands for this video for you. Just wanted to tell you that the final step will be tightening this up. Do both sides, sort of take turns going between both sides so you're not lopsided. And then you're going to test to make sure that your wheel is turning. You're going to put enough air in it just to be really hard. You don't have to go to the maximum PSI. That's the other thing about winter cycling, is you want a little bit less air in your tires so that you have more surface contact with the pavement, with the snow, the ice, and all that. That's what makes this work really well. And then you're pretty much good to go. The good news is that this was the worst part. The front will be a lot easier. A lot of people have a quick release on their front tires, so it's really easy to remove. The hardest part of the front will be, again, just struggling to get the tube and the tires. Just remember these steps and repeat on the front, and then you're good to go. And we're going to do a little test ride.